Curtis Massey 0806 says Broderick Jones also needs to play more. He played awesome against the Ravens. I was going to talk about him in the beginning, but I kind of went off on a tangent with the whole moves that we made with Darius Rush and Desmond King. So I'll talk Broderick Jones and Dan Moore at the end if we have some time, because I do have some things to say about that. Let me get into these. Let me get into these trades, man. You guys drop your guys that we should be trading for, your trade prospects for the Steelers. I'll react to them, see if I agree or not. I'll give you a grade on your trade proposals too. The names that I'm trying to think, the names that I listed last week, it was the two pit guys, Aaron Donald, Abanikanda, Patrick Surtain, J.C. Horn, cornerbacks, Mike Gesicki at tight end, Tommy Tremble at tight end, Marcus Peters, one of you guys mentioned him, Hunter Renfro, and was there one more name? That might have been it. I can't remember if there was another name, but those names for the most part still stand. I don't think we're going to be getting my pit guys in Abanikanda and Donald, but the fact that we could use an upgrade at cornerback, and if it's Patrick Surtain or J.C. Horn, I'm all for that. I do have another name though here that is worth considering, and he's been brought up on Steelers Twitter, on the Steelers blogospheres. Cornerback for the Chicago Bears, Jalen Johnson. And we do have a little bit of a trading relationship with the Chicago Bears. Just last year, we sent Claypool to them for a second round pick, which ended up being Joey Porter Jr. So right now, our track record with trading with the Bears is pretty good. We're batting 100%. Any deals we make, I feel like it's going to be in our favor. But Jalen Johnson, he's in his fourth year. He's due a contract, and he's a solid player. He's not to the pedigree of a J.C. Horn or a Patrick Surtain II. Not by any stretch. But he's gotten better year in and year out up in Chicago. And I'd argue this is his best year. The only problem, he's been banged up a little bit. He's a 79 PFF rating. You can't go off that completely. We all know that. But as a one-year rental, and if we don't want to shell out the price it might take to get a J.C. Horn or a Patrick Surtain, it could make sense. And if he plays really well, maybe it wouldn't be the worst thing to pay him a long-term extension. Again, it's not going to be to the degree of a franchise cornerback, which would be good for our cap space. What if he was looking for a Cam Sutton type of deal? Cam Sutton, we lost him this offseason to the Lions for, what was it? He went for 3 years, like $33 million. He's getting like $11 million per year. Jalen Johnson, he can maybe be in that range, probably even a little bit less if he continues to play how he's been playing this year. And that's something we can afford because we've talked about this before. Patrick Peterson, he could be a cap casualty for us this offseason, potentially could retire if his play keeps slipping. And then Levi Wallace, this is the end of his contract after 2023. He'll be a free agent in 2024. So that right there could open up around $10 million on the books. You get a solid veteran cornerback who's still in his prime and a Jalen Johnson. Again, not a world beater, not a guy that you're considering in the top 15, top 10 of cornerbacks, but maybe a top 20, a top 25 guy. Worst case, 1 year rental could help the cornerback group just for this year. But then if he keeps playing good, I mean, he's still a young player and could be a guy that you want to give a 2-3 year extension to. So it's something to consider. Definitely something to consider. Just the fact, though, if you're going to go through trade needs for the Steelers, if we were to make a trade, I think cornerback's the top spot, right? So that's why I bring up the three names of Patrick Surtain, J.C. Horn, or even I brought up Marcus Peters. So there's four names, Marcus Peters, and then a Jalen Johnson. Next name I have here, I got four more names. I got a total of 5 names that I think are intriguing and could happen. And then I have 2/3, 4 that, I'm just throwing it out there. I'll get your guys' reaction to it. The second name, though, is Mcole Hardman. Dude has 6 yards for the Jets this season. They signed him to be a guy that could take the top off the defense and be just a good deep threat for Aaron Rodgers. But we know what has taken place for the Jets this season. No more Aaron Rodgers. And Mcole Hardman just isn't a factor at all in that Jets offense. Now, Aaron Rodgers may come back. Who knows? We see him thrown on the sidelines. But if a team like us, I know the Chiefs are being thrown out there as a team that could be interested in Mcole Hardman. Teams willing to give up a late round pick. I could see the Jets taking the bait because it's a lot of what ifs with Rodgers if he's coming back or not. And at that point, you're talking about chemistry being built that late in the season. And if you're already not featuring Mcole Hardman or getting him out there in formations, giving him a lot of snaps, why all of a sudden are you just going to randomly do it with Rodgers? I don't know if that's something an offensive coordinator would do. Who knows? Who knows? Matt Canada might do something like that. But I feel like if they could get something for sure for Mcole Hardman at the trade deadline, some type of late round pick, just based off the fact that they're not even using them, they may pull the trigger. And he is a really good return man. In fact, he is a Pro Bowl or All Pro returner as well in the past. And if you guys have watched Steeler games, you know we could use some help in the return department. Calvin Austin is fine, but if he goes down, we're in trouble, especially since we just cut Desmond King. Gunner ain't it, man. And Gunner may not even make it past the week because we got Deontay Johnson and Anthony McFarland that got to return from IR. So those are some spots that we got to discuss and think about when you're talking about the 53-man roster. You got to bring Deontay back. You got to bring McFarland. Who's getting cut? Gunner makes the most sense to me right now. I don't think he's done anything to help us, not only this season, but even dating back to last year. Next name I got, it's in the same vein as Mcole Hardman. Cordell Patterson for the Atlanta Falcons, running back / receiver / return man. He's not doing anything down there in Atlanta. They are not utilizing him at all. Obviously, they drafted Bijan Robinson in the top 10 in the draft. So it makes sense why a couple players like a Cordell Patterson, a couple veteran guys that they've had on their team might start taking a back seat and not be getting the touches like they used to. But this year, it's egregious. Patterson has 0 rushing yards and 2 receptions for 13 yards. Now, he has been banged up, but in the 3 games he's played, that has been his stat line. I don't think he's lost it like that. His best season was 2021, 1,100 total rushing and receiving yards, and then 11 total touchdowns. But just last year, he still got almost 700 on the ground, 8 touchdowns, and 4.8 yards per carry. So you can't tell me that just a year later, he's completely lost it. No, I just don't think the Falcons are utilizing him because some of the personnel that they got, a la Bijan Robinson in the backfield, like they would rather be getting him the ball than a Cordell Patterson who's, 32 years old and has been around the block a little bit. And that's not to say, though, he can't still do some things and help out an offense like ours. Because I think if you incorporate him into the Steelers offense, he can help out Kenny Pickett a lot. Like in the short passing game, even getting him a run or two, and again, helping us with special teams and in the return game in case, Anthony McFarland goes down again because he is very injury prone. Calvin Austin, if he gets hurt, he's had injuries throughout his career. We know that. That might not be bad. I think you could toss him something cheap. I wouldn't even be surprised if Cordell Patterson tried to force his way out of there. Like he's not getting the ball at all, unless he's just happy riding the bench at this stage of his career. I don't know, but like you could probably throw him 7th round pick. Third name, this one was floated around in the offseason. Out of these 5 names that I have on the top of my list here, he's probably the least likely. But since the Giants are in a tough spot, I could see them moving him a little bit because this guy's not doing too much for them. And I'm talking about Isaiah Simmons. Now, they traded for him just this offseason when Simmons was on the trade block with the Cardinals, gave up a late round pick. And yeah, I looked at his stat line. I looked at how much he's playing. It's not that much. He's not doing that much of anything. And the devil's advocate for us trading for him would be, why are we trading for him if he's not doing much for the Giants? Well, just more based off his athleticism and his upside. Really, that's it. It seems like the Steelers are still interested in maybe getting a more athletic inside linebacker because they did sign a dude to their practice squad. I forget what his name is, but dude ran like a 4.3 something. He's like 6'2", 6'3". Like, tested really well in all the athleticism attributes when he was coming into the league. So I think we're still interested. And if you could get an Isaiah Simmons and just add him to the inside linebacker room, have him be, a box safety for you and some passing downs and whatnot, it wouldn't hurt us. It wouldn't hurt. That would be if the Giants want to recoup like their late round pick that they gave up for him. And that would also be if the Steelers are that interested in Simmons, who has underwhelmed throughout his NFL career thus far. I think we all can admit that, but still has a little bit of an upside. This is the last year on his deal. So the Giants keep losing. They may want to unload some talent, unload some players. And this would be a fit that could make sense for the Steelers. Added inside linebacker depth. He brings an attribute, a skill set that not all of our inside linebackers have. I would argue outside of Quan Alexander, none of them have. And I don't even think Quan's as athletic as Isaiah Simmons. He's a much better player, don't get me wrong. He is an athletic inside linebacker, but not the athletic inside linebacker that Isaiah Simmons is. If you guys get what I'm saying. The last guy, Jeremy Chinn. I see that he's now on the trade block for the Carolina Panthers. So there's a caveat to this potential move. He just got hurt. He's supposed to be out for like 4 to 6 weeks. But if you look at what he's been doing with the Panthers this season, they made a whole scheme switch with the coaching change. Dude is not getting the same amount of playing time. It's almost like he doesn't have a role. They got him doing Minkah Fitzpatrick stuff whenever Minkah Fitzpatrick was down in the Dolphins. They got him moving over the place and actually weirdly have him playing like this slot corner role from the research that I've done. And that's not Jeremy Chinn. Jeremy Chinn is a hard-hitting safety, like a box safety, linebacker type of dude. And with us not having Terrell Edmonds anymore, this wouldn't be a bad play for the Steelers to bring a guy like that in. Yeah, I'm telling you, 18 snaps in week 5, 26 snaps in week 6 for the Panthers. This is Jeremy Chinn we're talking about. So he's due for a contract coming up. Panthers are terrible. Could be a guy that they get rid of. It's a new regime. They don't really have a spot for him down there. Only problem is he's hurt. I don't know how likely a team would be willing to trade for a dude that's hurt right now that you may not see until week 10, 11, 12. And at that point in the season, could be a little late for a dude to get in the rotation like that. Because week 10, 11, you know how that is. That's when a team starts to really find its identity. Really starts to carve out roles for certain players, both on offense and defense. So that could be a tough spot to put Jeremy Chinn in if you were a team like the Steelers and traded for him. So those are my 5 that make sense to me. In addition to the 8 guys that I listed on the last stream. So what are you guys saying here? Steven Cardamone says really missing Edmonds and Sutton. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely a case to be made there. Absolutely. Terry973 says center is number 1 priority. Problem is, who are we getting? Who's that much better than Mason Cole that's out there and is available for trade? Terry also says, why aren't you talking about trading for a center? Cole is terrible. Again, drop a name. Let me know who's out there. Ooh, I forgot about this. Defense 1 says, I think Denzel Mims needs to be considered to play. Yeah. Yeah, he's on our practice squad. Former 2nd-round pick. We did, yeah. SGE Hard 18 says, don't we have Denzel Mims? Yes, we do. We got him just chilling on the practice squad. Yeah, what names do you guys have? St. Brown from the Bears. Darius Williams says, do y'all research what y'all think? You're talking about the cornerback, Darius Williams? Yeah, I think if we had to make a trade, secondary should be top priority for sure. Then the last, I'm not going to go over these that quick. Or I'm not going to go over these that long. I'm going to go over these more briefly. Juju Smith-Schuster trade. Bring Juju back. Just a clean swap for Gunner. give the Patriots back their old guy. We get our old guy back in Juju. The reason that's not happening is Juju doesn't seem to be the Juju of old. Doesn't even seem to be the Juju of last year with the Chiefs. Now, it could be because Mac Jones is his quarterback and he's in the Patriots offense for sure, but he's not worth that contract that he's got unless the Patriots want to take on all of that, which I don't think that would be very smart of them to do. They don't even really like playing Juju anymore. They're not featuring him at all, so why would they want to take on all of the bad contract that they just gave him after trading him? Who knows what they're going to – they might just cut him. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe he'll be available this offseason. Matt Filer, we need some O-line help. I guess his name, and then also the last name I'll bring up is Bud Dupree. Those names would only be valid in case of injuries. If we need some extra O-line depth, if someone went down and we have to have some moving pieces, Matt Filer, pretty versatile. He's on the last year of his deal with the Buccaneers. And Buccaneers, one of those teams. Are they good or are they not? They might actually be good because their record isn't bad right now, but I could see them going on a little bit of a tumble before the trade deadline. So who knows? I mean, he's starting down there. He became available. That could be interesting. And then Bud Dupree, again, I think it's only if we need some edge rush help because I'm good with, obviously, TJ and Highsmith. We got Herbig and Marcus Golden as our backups in depth. And Bud Dupree doesn't seem to be turning the clock back down in Atlanta. And then the last thing I'll bring up in terms of trades, again, don't really think this is happening, but a Najee Harris trade has been floated out there. And I looked into it. Some people are saying teams that need some running back help could give up a draft pick as high as a second rounder. There's no way. There is no way. If someone wants to offer Najee Harris a second round pick to us, you got to take it in a heartbeat, but that's not happening. I don't see a team giving up more than a fourth rounder for him. Fourth, fifth rounder. And if it comes down to that, I'm the Steelers, I'm just keeping Najee Harris because I still think he's a solid player. He's not fitting our offensive scheme right now. He's not. I think Jaylen Warren is a better running back threat in what we're trying to do on offense. And it's not all Najee's fault. Our O-line could do some better blocking, but at the same time, Jaylen Warren just jumps off the screen. He's much faster. I think he's a better threat in the passing game and a better help to Kenny Pickett. I think he keeps our offense less predictable. So there's that. I can't really see any other way we trade Najee Harris. I don't see a team offering anything of substance for him that would make sense for us to get rid of him, if that makes sense. So, yeah, those are trade ideas, trade thoughts as we head closer into the deadline. I'll see some more things that you guys are saying. Does Edmonds even start for the Eagles? In some of the games I've seen, he's out there. I don't know if he's starting. Stephen Cardamone says scheme for your players, maybe. That's a huge critique for Matt Canada. I agree with you on that. Trust me. You're preaching to the choir. Trust me. I'm with you on that. Definitely. I don't think Canada's helping this offense. He's not. Doing too much predictable stuff. Don't think he's setting up Kenny or the receivers for success that they need to be in a 2023 NFL offense. It just ain't it. It just ain't it. Little Haas says Jason Kelsey. There's no way. There's no way. There's no way that's happening. Brian Hartline, isn't he in college? You're talking about for an OC? Steven Cardamone says, all right, though, I've seen some plays. Deke isn't full crap on this. Jets 6th rounder. What do you mean? What are you talking about? Who's what Jets 6th rounder? What are we doing? Are you saying Najee Harris for the Jets 6th rounder? I wouldn't do that. I would trade Najee Harris for I didn't even think I was gonna bring his name up again for the rest of the stream. I already did 2 times, but Abanikanda. I would trade Najee Harris for Abanikanda straight up. Ooh, okay. Yeah, I like this. You guys are bringing in some trade proposals. KJeff2319 says, would you send Wallace a 2nd and a 5th for Sertan and a 6th immediately? We'd have to go way more than that for Sertan. No question. Big T77 says, Antoine Randall for OC next year. What about Deuce Staley? He had some success with the Lions. Wasn't he a running backs coach with the Lions? Has he done some other stuff on offense? Like play call and coordinator or anything like that? I feel like Deuce Staley's been a name that's been being brought up. But the only reason I mentioned that is you said Randall L, and that's a former Steeler. Deuce Staley could maybe be a name too. Is Randall L, is he coaching like that? Who's he? Deuce Staley's with the Panthers right now. Is he running? What's he doing? Is he a running backs coach? And he was a running backs coach in Philly. Okay, okay. Yeah, I knew he was doing some stuff. He's on the circuit out there. All right. I got a couple minutes here. You want me to go over this Broderick Jones, Dan Moore stuff real quick? So you have Dan Moore saying he's taking first team reps. This was what, a day or two ago? And also expecting he's gonna be playing on Sunday. That's what he said. I'm taking first team reps and I expect to be a go against the Rams. Then you have Broderick saying today, no one knows who's going to start for week 7. The official depth chart, however, has Dan Moore listed as the starter. Tomlin did his usual say nothing by saying everything with the media yesterday and goes on, says if Dan Moore is healthy, hold on, I botched this up. Let me change this real quick. Nope, botched it up again. Hold on. Says if Dan Moore is healthy, does he start at left tackle in week 7? Or no, he was asked this. Says that's a big if. We've got some work ahead of us. He'll be given an opportunity to show his progress over the course of the week, and we'll make that decision at the appropriate time. It doesn't behoove us to make hypothetical statements at the early portions of the week. He looked pretty good yesterday. We'll see where the week leads us. I mean, that's just literally nothing. It's literally saying nothing. So who's going to start? I don't know. Listen, if Tomlin's doing this from a gamesmanship approach where he's keeping the Rams on edge and eventually he starts Broderick Jones, then I'm for it. I just don't see a world where it makes sense to trot Dan Moore out there again after seeing what Broderick Jones did in his first start. You see the PFF ratings, again, take them with a grain of salt. You can't go strictly off that, but they are telling in a way. Dan Moore's PFF grade is a 29.3 this season. Broderick's is a 66.5, and his start from last week against the Ravens, and also half the game he played against the Texans. That's significant. That is, if my math's correct, 36-point difference. The rookie and Broderick Jones we drafted in the first round and traded up for, doing 36 points better than Dan Moore, who's been in the league for 3 years. We all watched the game last week. Broderick looked as good as Dan Moore probably ever has out there. As good, or maybe a little bit worse if you want to look to a game last year where Dan Moore looked better than what he has this year. You know, a game at the end of the season where him and the offensive line looked a lot more cohesive, looked like they were playing better out there. Maybe Dan Moore had a better game. Maybe. But that was Broderick's first start, so I'd expect him to only get better going forward. What are we doing? Dude's a clear first-round talent, athletic, moving guys in the running game. I think he's a gamer. And now we could argue we would have liked to seen a better preseason out of Broderick, but this is the regular season. This is when it counts. Dude went to Georgia. He knows what it's like to play in big games. He knows what it's like to play in games that matter. The preseason was probably just slight work for him. I mean, he's going up against third and fourth stringers. Yeah, maybe he's going to have a lapse in judgment. Maybe he's going to have a little bit of a hiccup out there, not paying attention as hard as what he could be. Sue him. I think he's deserving to play. I would put him out there over Dan Moore. That's my take on it. I think right now he's at least worst case as good as Dan Moore, and he should only get better as the season goes on and he gets more reps and more experience. I think it's a no-brainer. But again, if Tomlin's using this to throw the Rams off a little bit for their game planning and whatnot, I'm fine with it. But I legitimately have a feeling that Dan Moore will be the starter for Week 7, and I'm not too thrilled about that. But that is it for today's show. I hope you guys enjoyed, man. Shout out to the Steelers. 3-2. Big game against the Rams. Unfortunately, this week did not go our way in terms of AFC teams and division rivals losing. Outside of the Chargers, literally every AFC team we should have rooted for to lose ended up winning. So it was a bummer week for the bye from that standpoint. But I do think we got some much needed rest, some much needed recalibration for this team and this offense to hopefully get things together for this second half stretch. But shout out to you guys for being in here, making this fun. Hope you enjoyed. Shout out to the Bleach Report for having me back on. I will be here for the post game of the Rams game. Post game Rams game. So starts at 4:00. Game 1, 7:30. So stop through. We'll give our instant reaction of that game, and hopefully it's after a dub, and we'll be on that Rams pack. But stay chilling, everyone. Peace out.